choices, and I want to use that as like sort of a foil for them and see how they react to it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Lots of trauma involved. Love it.
Oh yeah, it's just for a little bit of spice.
Yep. Yep.
Last night, um, the our I've been playing Space D&D, also known as the Expanse role-playing game. And they have a mysterious benefactor now, who is probably some high-level spy in the Martian government, but they don't know. Maybe she's an entrepreneur. Maybe she's like, but she hired them to take her to Mars. They're in the rings of Saturn, right? So take her to Mars. And about 3 days into the trip, she says, "Hey, I figured out that the MacGuffin that you used to have but was stolen from you in the last adventure is probably on this moon of Jupiter. So we should go there." And all the players were like, "You know what? We're kind of glad they stole it from us. It was a headache. We let them have it. We don't want to go." And I'm like, "No, no, you,
No, that's your motivation.
yeah." They're like, "What if we don't?" And I'm like, "Well, then we can wrap it up here, and I could just say you live boring, normal lives." I don't
Yeah.
know.
I had like a couple sessions back, one of my players was like, "Yo, this traveling encounter that we had, this random traveling encounter we had with a goat merchant. What if we just like bottle his goats and became goat cheese farmers?" I'm like, "Well, you could do that, but that would probably mean the end of this adventure because I don't see how you could, you know,
Yeah, so
keep going after that."
like I had to apologize. I'm like, I know I understand I'm railroading you, but like I got nothing else. I really don't. I got nothing else.
Yeah.
I'm tired. It's been a long day. I'm usually up for improv, but you want to go that far off the reservation? You know, let's call it. They're like, "Okay, we'll go to the stupid moon." So then they get to the moon. There's a door that's booby trapped. They find a booby trap. The engineer person is like midway through removing the booby trap, and um, she's like, "This is scary. I don't want to do it anymore. Let's just tell her we went here and we didn't find anything, and we'll say there's nothing there. We'll just tell her." And I'm like, "You realize she's listening into all your communications. You're in spacesuits talking over the radio, and she's listening." And they're like,
Oh, the double cross.
Anyway, okay, lots to do. So Sky and Nathan, I am confused. Which of you told me to record, Sky or
Sorry, that
Nathan?
was Sky. That was me, Sky.
Okay. So Sky, name any month but June.
October.
October it is. October. Ooh, you got lots of possibilities here. Let's see. Although we have been here before. 5 choices remaining. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all of them. Okay. So, let's see. I will give you a choice of this one's called the keywords are RPG and strategy. So that's a possibility. An RPG strategy game looks cute. I would call that cute. Got another one. It says indie adventure RPG. Looks like an RPG. Looks like one of those isometric RPGs. What do you think? Cute tactics or like an isometric RPG?
Give me the RPG.
Okay. Send me a private message with the email where you want me to send the code.
Okay, thank you.
In the chat. Don't send me an email. Just put it in the chat so I can copy paste. Copy and paste. Copy and paste. We can do in the last class. Somebody hadn't muted themselves and they started singing to their dog or something, and it was the cutest thing ever. And I was like, dude, you're not muted, and just snapped to muted, and I'm like, it's okay. I that was the cutest thing ever, and I sing to my dog all the time. So you, Sky, are now the proud owner of Iron Danger. Let's see, there's not even a description. Usually there's text description. Learn more. Iron Danger is a tactical combat game with a unique time manipulation mechanic, a never before seen combination that blends the tactical depth of turn-based games with exciting action of real-time games. Oh, well, so maybe I oversold it as an RPG, but that's what it said. It says indie adventure RPG. It looks good. I'm surprised I didn't want this. I probably looked at it and said, it will go in my Steam list. I will see Iron Danger on my Steam list, and I will never open it because I don't know what our Iron Danger is. But I hope you enjoy it, Sky. Okay. So everyone, back to everyone. Okay, so I want to talk about your D&D adventures, but I got to talk about assignments first. And my goal is to get this done in like 20-30 minutes. But last hour I spent the whole hour talking about it, so let's try and bang it out. So I put up a new assignment, and I want to get you thinking about this, and get you going on this. New assignment is to write your own D&D adventure. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to write a brief D&D adventure. You are limited to 6 pages. You can use the dual column format of the adventure that you all read, that you all played. You can even I've got 2 other free adventures linked here from the dungeon. I forget what site it is. What site is it? The Dungeon Masters Guild. Courting of Fire. I don't know. I looked them over. They seem cool. So the one you played is about 7 pages long, plus 2 maps, plus all the pre-gen characters, right? So it's probably 15 pages long all told. Maps don't count against your page count, so feel free to put whatever maps you want. In fact, I love maps. I think you should have a map. There are 2 kinds of maps. There are lots of kinds of maps, but for the purposes of D&D, you'll notice there were 3 maps in the adventure. One was kind of the gnome town, so you got a sense of where everything was in town. And then the ruins where you found the bad gnome at the end, and both the upper and the lower. So the top ruins, and you have the wolf encounter up there, and then you go down the ladder and you're in that little cave section. So if you want to include, more than one map, that's fine. I think you should have one map. The other thing that a lot of people like to do is say, okay, you have to journey to the mountain of iron in order to find the dwarven fortress where the evil Fuzul lives, right? And along the way, you're going to have to cross a river and navigate a forest, and maybe there's a witch along the way or whatever. So sometimes you have kind of a bigger world map. Hold on, I see some comment. There's the chat. Do we have to make our own maps? If so, what is the best way to do that? Good question. So you'll notice that the maps in the adventure are all they're amazing. Like I'm going to tell you a secret. Andrew did not draw all that himself. He used software. There are any number of map making pieces of software. Feel free to use any of them with kind of pre-gen template stuff. What's the one I have? I forget the name. Come on, Epic Store. There we go. I have something. Where is it? I have too many windows open. I have something called, where is it? Minecraft. No, that's not a map making piece of software. I have a campaign cartographer. Let's stop share. And this was in a humble bundle. And honestly, you can make all sorts of things with it. File. So I started playing with the let's see, I don't even know. So I started playing with the various. Is that something? No, I have no idea how to use this. I'm drawing things. Honestly, I started playing with it and then I was like, this is hard. I'm just gonna draw on paper. So there are, I'm sure those who are into this sort of thing know much better than I do all the ways you there. I'm sure there are websites that allow you to draw maps or drop in and make maps yourself. But the other way you can do it. Okay, so David says he's used Incarnate, which is pretty okay. You can fire up Photoshop or whatever the equivalent of that is and go nuts.
Can we
if you're
throw
artistic.
some links to these programs on the Discord?
Sure. David, can you put Incarnate on the Discord? I will put Campaign Cartographer. The other thing you can do to not get bogged down in making maps is get out some graph paper and a pencil, and draw with a pencil whatever map you like on paper, and then get your phone and take a picture of it and include it as part of your submission. That's perfectly legit. The only thing that makes me sad with that is when I get what is like I have gotten seriously half ripped out pieces of notebook paper, like just half a piece of notebook paper, with a kind of scribble, like a scribble that says trees, a couple of V's that say mountains, and it looks like it took all of, I don't know, 4.5 minutes to make that map. That makes me sad. I don't require that everybody be an artist, but a little, maybe get a ruler, make a straight line once in a while, maybe take some time with it and be careful, or even just a full sheet of paper is always a good thing to start with instead of a scrap that was sitting in the bottom of your backpack. So mostly what it seems like is when I see something that was dashed off in the 10 minutes before it was due because somebody went, oh shoot, he wants a map. Boom, done. That's what makes me sad. So Eli says, I find it easiest to make a rough sketch on paper first if you want to draw a whole digital map with color. Again, feel free. Oh, let me show you this. See, this is why it takes so long to describe this, because I go off on tangents. But man, I have too many backed Kickstarters. But this is so cool. Here, I'm going to share this. I backed this on Kickstarter. You can't back it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm just here to make you salivate. Where I backed this. Here's the campaign. I just want to show you the video. What happened?
Ever felt uninspired, technically challenged, or just bored when creating your game maps? Yeah, we know the feeling. That's why we created Dungeon Alchemist, an AI-powered map-making application that allows you to make awesome-looking maps with just a few clicks. Here's how it works. Start by selecting one of our map sizes that works for you. Next, choose a theme for your map. Start off with an old-school crypt, a bustling tavern, or many others. And off you go. Just start drawing rooms and Dungeon Alchemist will fill in your walls, floors, objects, lights, and so on. Pretty neat, right?
Yes!
Each new room is generated on the fly to match your theme and looks completely unique. Dungeon Alchemist does all the grunt work for you, so you can focus on creating.
Anyway, okay.
Once you're happy with the rooms you've designed...
Doesn't that make you... That just makes me so happy. So someday I will just go zoop, zoop, zoop and have a map. It will make me so happy. And one of the stretch goals, they included science fiction maps. So like last night, I had to do this moon base, and I didn't think they were going to get that far, and they got that far. And so I'm just like on a grid making like paint lines, and it was horrible. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I usually put together a map for you, but I didn't think you'd get this far. So anyway, so maps, let's get back to the assignment. Let's share that, share the assignment, share. Okay, so you don't have to provide player characters. Assume that that everybody's gonna roll their own, or you can just download them, whatever. Assume that it is going to be a standard D&D party, which is some form of fighter, some form of rogue, some form of cleric, and some form of wizard. Which you basically, when you're writing an adventure, you plan for 4 players, and let the DM, if there's only 3 players, they might take away some monsters. If there's 6 players, they might add some monsters, whatever. But assume it's a standard D&D party. Don't make like this thing can only be overcome. This obstacle can only be overcome by a monk, because they might not have a monk. But any kind of fighter who can somehow break down a door is fine. If the monk wants to punch through the door, that's great. If the fighter wants to take an axe to the door, great. For everyone, especially if you never played D&D before this last week, what's going on? Assume that you write a first level adventure. First level is easier. There's not enough to take into account. Everybody doesn't have 300 different powers that they can use. And the bad guys or what have you don't have 300 different powers too. But if you're experienced, if you've been playing D&D since you were 5 years old and could talk, and you've made many a dungeon or run many an adventure, feel free. If you want to make a 5th level dungeon, great. If you prefer, like, again, you only have 6 players. So level 21 shot, oh boy, make me crazy. Just basically a level 21 shot is an ancient dragon in a room. And there you go. Fight the dragon all night. I've had, when we were doing like epic level stuff, there was one fight that lasted, I think we played for like 9 or 10 hours one Saturday, and that it was one fight, and we calculated how many rounds afterwards, and then the entire fight lasted about 3 minutes, but it took us like 9 hours to play. So go figure. Anyway, so stick with low level. Don't kill yourself. Level 3 best level for one shots, yeah, okay. But I'm gonna say for never before did it, stick to level 1 because it's just easier. And for monsters, use the SRD. Let me quick, I think I have it open. Yes. All the monsters are at the 5e SRD. Somebody in the last class also said they're available in whatever Wizards has for software. So however you can get to monster stats, feel free. I'm not going to be looking. Oh, what's that? No, forget that. I'm not going to be really looking at stats. What I would like you to do is basically just say there are 4 orcs in this room. Orcs, see monster manual page, whatever, or SRD. Here, let's find orc. Oh, let's do Game Master, Monsters and Foes. Oh boy, now I've got it. There we go. Monsters and Foes, Monsters Database. So we go to orcs. All the way. There's a lot of monsters here. See all these monsters? This is alphabetical. So I got to get to O. Why didn't I pick? I don't know. Okay, they're goblins instead. Look at all the different kinds of goblins. I'm just going to say they are hill goblins. Okay, so there are 4 goblins. See I just copy paste the URL for goblins into the document, and then you're not um, taking up valuable real estate in your no more than 6-page document with stats. That's it. The other thing, say for instance, you've got your 4 first level adventurers, and you say they walk into the room and there is an ancient red dragon in the room. I'm going to say, like in my comments when I'm reading it, I'm going to say, yeah, those 4 first level adventurers are probably dead. I don't even need to play this. The ancient red dragon is going to laugh, breathe fire, and they'll all be dead. Maybe one of them might last, like the rogue might hide or make a saving throw, and might survive to the second round, where he will be squished by the dragon's claws. So how do you avoid, because you saw all the monsters that were there, how do you avoid how do you avoid picking a monster that's crazy high or just silly low? But for your adventure, you want about the right level for first level characters. So there's this thing called challenge rating, or CR, right? And I gotta say that they assign every monster a number. So these are the challenge zeros, which theoretically, so the way challenge works, and I'm probably getting this wrong because they change it all the time, but for first level players are challenge rating 4, because there's 4 of them, and they're each first level. So if they're second level, that's challenge rating 8. So in order to give them something challenging, you want whatever monsters to be about a 4, right? So if, say, they're challenge rating a half, you want to give them 8 of those. But honestly, these, like, 8 apes in a room might work. 8 apes in the jungle where they can swing around in the trees and avoid doing all this stuff. It's approximate at best. Yeah, David, there are CR calculators. In the end, you've got the number of things, you've got how they're combined with other monsters. So you might have 4 goblin guys with scimitars and a goblin wizard and a goblin cleric, and you add it all up, and it's just barely the CR. But because the 4 fighters are keeping the party at bay, the wizard and the cleric can cast spells and just kill them, or maybe there's bars in between, so the players can't get to the bad things. So it's approximate at best. I'm not gonna do the calculations and be like, okay, the monsters you have here are, when you do it all together, it's challenge rating 8.5, and you guys are only challenge rating 4, so this is a bad encounter. I'm not. If it's reasonable, I'll roll with it. I'm much more interested, as I say in the assignment, I'm not going to be a stickler for rules. I will be looking at these as able to tell a coherent story, right? And for instance, people in the other class said, hey, can I modify monsters? Yes. But when you include a modified monster, you have to include their stats, and that takes up room. Whereas just putting in a URL takes up much less room. So I would say do that sparingly because it's going to take up room. Maybe you have plenty of room to do your stat blocks. Feel free. Also, if you have named adversaries, named PCs or NPCs that the characters might come into conflict with, you are going to need to provide stat blocks for them. So if they encounter a 4th level goblin priestess, they're going to need stats named Bob, Roberta. Then we're going to need stat blocks for her. Just like Lumsha, I can't remember her name. The bad gnome.
Lusho.
Lusho, thank you. There's a stat block for her in the adventure, right? Are we allowed to not set it in the traditional fantasy world, like space, for example, while still following D&D rules and using the same weapons and enemies and stuff? Sure. I would say, please, only do that if you're somewhat experienced. Essentially, you can tell any story in like fantasy settings. So say for instance, you want to tell a heist story, you can set up a whole heist adventure in a city in D&D. If you want to tell a darker thing where say for instance you're leg breakers for a debt collecting a bookie, right? And you guys are the debt collecting, and your whole thing is to go from gambler to gambler collecting their debts, and each gambler is a different problem set. They're hiding, or they're going to fight you, or they're going to try and talk their way out of it. That's a story, right? And that story can happen today in New York City or in medieval fantasy world, right? There is a very famous D&D module where basically D&D people investigate a crashed UFO. Should the font be a certain size? Yes. You have 6 pages. Look at the examples. Don't kill me with minuscule fonts and craziness. The point of the 6 pages is that the scope of your adventure is a reasonable scope to be played in one night. Think about the adventure you played, took 3.5, 4 hours. It is 7 pages long. This is a one shot that you're writing. It should be playable in one session. Don't write me your fantasy epic novel that takes place over 300 hours, because that's outside the scope of this assignment. So okay, story. Also about monsters, your monsters should conform to what that monster is. So if I'm going to stop the share because I want to see you guys. If you have an example from years and years ago, somebody did an entire adventure where zombies were attacking the village, right? And there would be waves of zombies that came into the village, and the adventurers would have to fight off waves of zombies. And then they would trace the zombies back, and the zombies like targeted specific things and essentially did not act like zombies, right? And in fact, I went and found the page on zombies, and zombies description is they are mindless killing. They are mindless former living things that eat the flesh of the living, and that's it, essentially. And these zombies had organization. They had a plan. There was a zombie village, and I'm like, you know what? These aren't zombies. You could have used orcs. You could have used goblins. You could have used kobolds. You could have used 85 other monsters doing the same things with similar stats, who have a plan and they've got a leader. But you picked zombies. Why'd you pick zombies? Right? So if you're going to use a monster, use that monster. Don't use orcs that act like zombies or zombies that act like orcs. Lots going on in the chat. If you have a 300-hour epic story, oh, let me tell you, I have a few. I was looking, I found my player's handbook from 1977, right? With my name in it from 1977. And tucked into it is my character, Mylar Shine Armor. He's a 6th level paladin with 40 hit points. I thought it was really clever to have a paladin named Mylar, and especially Mylar Shine Armor. I have all sorts of stats written on it. Although it's very interesting, I don't think like some of this is not my handwriting. Somebody else was playing this. I don't know. Anyway, it's always fun to pull out your stuff. This was probably when I was 15. So it's very old. Anyway, this is 1st edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Good stuff. Good stuff. Still have it. Okay, so are we allowed to include information in the map which is not stated explicitly in the script? Okay, let me talk about maps, and let me talk about specifically. A dungeon map. Let's put it this way: a dungeon map. Say you have a dungeon. I'm gonna draw a dungeon. Oh dear. Maybe the shape here is somewhat unfortunate. Let's make that a different shape. I don't know. So here I have some rooms and hallways, and I could make doors. Door. Please excuse my heart. I would expect you to like take more time with this. So generally what you do is you make your map, you make your rooms, and then you put 1, and then you put 2. Oop, come on, 2, and then you put 3, right? And each room or each area, you might even go here to A, because that's a special section of 2 that you really want to have. If the exact location of enemies and doors is relevant, but I want the players to notice things themselves. Okay, so 2A might be here, we'll go back to drawing, might be a trap of some sort, right? So then in your text, and you can again look at the example adventures. You type 1 entrance hall, and this is not on the map. This is in your text. And then what you do is you italicize. We don't have italics in this. And you put first the read aloud. This is the text that the DM would read aloud to the players when they enter the room. This is what they see, not necessarily what's all in the room. So you walk into the room, it is dimly lit. There's one torch on the left-hand wall, and there's broken pottery all over the floor. Then and you italicize that or put it in a text box or whatever. Then you put things the DM needs to know that the players don't necessarily see when they first enter the room. So hidden among the rafters in this room are 6 giant spiders, right? They don't know that. Then monsters, and this would be 6 giant spiders, page 357 of the monster manual or URL from the SRD. Then tactics for monsters. The 6 giant spiders are guarding their eggs. They will fight to the death. Or the 3 bandits haven't been paid enough. So if any one of them takes more than half their hit points in damage, they will all surrender or run. They will try to run, and if they can't run, they will surrender. So tactics. The wizard will cast bark skin on themselves first, and then start pelting the party with magic missiles, what have you. Then once you've written the tactics, what else is in this room that the players would find? Okay, we killed the monsters, or we talked the bandits into going back home, and now we search the room, and in a little alcove on one side of the room, you find a prayer book, but it seems to be all prayers to demons. This could be bad. Would you like to read it? Right. So whatever treasure is in there. When thinking about treasure for one-shots, you don't want to really give the players things that are going to pay off way down the road. You want potions and consumables mostly. If you give them gold, chances are they won't ever have a chance to spend it. So you'll want to instead give them things that they can use immediately. The biggest mistake people make in playing one-shots is they save their stuff, right? I have 2 potions of healing and a potion of fire breathing. I'm going to hold on to that fire breathing for when I need it, and before you know it, the one-shot's over and you never used it. When you had 4 chances to use it, any one of which would be totally cool, right? So give them treasure that they can use, not treasure that they're not going to use for months in a campaign. This is a one-shot, not a campaign. if you were here before class started, I mentioned briefly, yeah, evil versions of ourselves. So, and then we do a long rest and I would have gotten it back anyway. Yeah. So, okay. So that's kind of the breakdown of a room. Stop share. Let me go back to the assignment. Share. So, what I'm looking for is story stuff. Remember how McKenna said yesterday she doesn't really like combat a lot? Notice how I'm talking a lot about combat. Give everyone a chance to shine. If somebody has to climb over the wall and open the door for the rest of the group, that's their chance to shine. If a bard needs to talk their way through the guards in order to enter the castle, that's fine. Tell a weird story. Tell a different kind of story than guy in a, here's the classic D&D story. I'm not saying it's terrible, but we've seen it. A dark, mysterious figure in a tavern hires you to find an ancient treasure. You travel to ruins. You enter them. There are orcs guarding a chest. You kill the orcs. You take the thing in the chest. And instead of going back to the guy who hired you, you keep it for yourself and double cross them. That's Murder Hobo 101. Try something different. Solve a murder mystery. Figure out why the crops are dying. There was a great one where a demon had been miniaturized, and he was just a tiny little demon running around causing chaos. But there were 3 days before the spell wore off, and then they'd have a full-size horrible demon in the middle of the town. So it was a race against time to find the tiny demon and squish him.
I was gonna say, aren't those just imps? Like,
Well, this was a
but
chain
if
demon, I
it
think.
can grow, then yeah, it's probably
Yeah. So there was a time limit, and everybody who knew D&D was like, what monster is this? This is weird, because he's wrapping everything in tiny watch chains, right? There's no like a chain demon is giant and encases you in giant chains. Anyway, so tell a different story. Questions for you. Why are we doing this? Always, try something different. Instead of a stranger in a bar hires you, make somebody's mother needs flour from a special strain of wheat. I don't know. What happened in the environment to make it this way? I actually let me edit this because these are from old examples. So think about nope. Think about why why the elevator wasn't working, or what the ruins had originally been. What's the motivation of the bad guys? Lushmo, I still don't remember her name. Lusho. What?
Lusho Finby.
Lasho. When I'm glad she doesn't get offended because she's fictional, because I can't remember her name. I have a block. Will the map section descriptions count as part of our 6 pages? Yes. Just the pictures don't count. Just to make sure, we can guarantee that there will be a fighter, a rogue, a cleric, and a wizard in the party, right? Assume so, yes. But some flavor, right? So if if you have things that are specifically solvable by only one character class that specialized. So you need a blood mage in order to do this. That's too specific. But if I can cast Mage Hand in order to do it, but there are two other ways to do it, then that's okay, right? Yeah, keep it a little more general. Exactly. What's the motivation of the bad guys? Why are they doing this? Do they live here? Maybe they're right. Maybe we're the bad guys. Consider the explanation of the Kenshu. No. Consider how who was the name of the gnome that was unconscious by the big hornet thing?
Omli.
Omli?
Yes.
OMLI?
OMLEE.
Omli. Consider how Omli was tricked into doing bad things for Lucio. Lucio? Is that right?
Lusho, but yes,
Okay.
similar idea.
So what does everyone do when the guy in the next room is getting slaughtered? Be careful about what doors are open, what doors are closed. Also, maybe it's cool that I get in these fights all the time where you start out fighting one thing and the racket from fighting that one thing draws other things, which draws other things, which draws other things. And pretty soon it's just a mess. There's like 4 different types of monsters in the room, and you are overwhelmed, and maybe you shouldn't have done that. But do the bad guys have a larger plan? Afford opportunities for combat spells and skills. Give everyone a chance to shine. Every problem doesn't need to be solved by stabbing something. Let people talk.
That's so much fun.
Make environmental obstacles. And what happens if they kill the evil wizard? What happens if they don't? What happens if they convince the evil wizard that there's another way? Okay. So format. I'm way out of time. Overview. Okay, so you can look at that stuff. I'm gonna save this because I gotta talk about the second assignment. Yes, there are 2 assignments involved. Originally these were the same assignment, but I split them because people complained that I was making 2 assignments due at the same time. So the D&D adventure that you're writing is due Monday at midnight. This is due a week from tomorrow, Wednesday at midnight. And basically what you're going to do is make a portfolio page for this adventure. So part of our charge is that you graduate with a portfolio. So one of our things is that every class should have at least 1 portfolio piece. This is your portfolio piece from this class, because it's very hard to make a portfolio page about an ARG. So even though that's actually the bigger project, this actually is contained in a portfolio. So you're going to make a web page. If you haven't started a portfolio yet, we do have Monday off, but that doesn't mean things aren't due Monday at midnight. So just like some people make things due Saturday at midnight, which I think is crazy, but whatever. So Wednesday, you're going to make 1 page. You can use this as part of your portfolio. If you don't like it, you can wall it off so only we can see it, however you want. Basically, it should have a picture from your adventure, whether that's a map or I don't know, if you want to draw your big bad fighting your imaginary party, that's cool too. a link to download a PDF of the adventure that includes everything so that I can get it, a brief summary, a little bit of marketing copy, why this is a good and interesting adventure, and all the art and maps relating to the adventure as highlights. So one web page. You can use Wix, WordPress, Squarespace, Tumblr, whatever the hell you want to make a web page, and all you have to submit is the URL of that web page. That's worth 5 points. The D&D adventure itself is worth 10 points. So total 15 points for this assignment. Okay. I am way over time. I'm sorry. And I'm bummed again. We didn't get to talk about your adventures. I will start out on Thursday talking about the comparing and contrasting your experience playing D&D with what was written on the page. Meant to get to it, but I think it's important to get this assignment out there so you can start thinking about it, start bandying about ideas. This is an individual assignment. This is not group stuff. Everybody writes their own, which means McKenna and I will have a lot to read. This one usually takes me a while. So, okay. Thank you all for coming. I'm getting my second vaccine shot tomorrow. Woo! So I may, who knows, I may be laid out on Thursday, depending on how my immune system goes. Anyway, have a good Wednesday. I will see you all on Thursday. Thanks for coming.